You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Whoa, what is this? Thursday night! We're back on Thursday nights just for this 1 week. Can you believe it?
Throwback Thursday.
Throwing back Thursday here on the Red Moon Podcast. That's right, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
Oh, there he is in all of his beautiful red glory. That's right, guys. Coming to you here just for this week, Thursday night, 9 p.m. at our normal time, but had a couple of scheduling conflicts we had to move around, so
Snafus.
Now we're here. We're going to be back on Tuesday night next week.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want anybody to get confused.
Let's go, have a shorter gap in between the shows. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's even... I don't know if that's a good thing.
Did you ever watch?
Because not for me, it's not.
I was going to say, 'cause did you ever watch the original The Witches?
I have not.
See,
I've got it.
Now you have even less amount of time to watch.
And that's the crazy thing.
movies.
I had more time this week, but I wasted it by not watching the movies I should have and waiting to the last minute. And so, I ended up, squandering the extra time I had. And then next week's not Halloween, is it?
Yeah.
Saturday?
Next
Saturday.
Because
so
next week's show,
our last.
Next week's show is the Halloween show. We have Psycho, we have The Witches, and if you want to see the original Witches, you're gonna have to try to watch all three.
I'm gonna try.
Which, I know you've already seen Psycho, but I'm sure you want to rewatch it.
I do, just like The Birds. I had seen The Birds, but I forgot a lot about it, and
all Saturday and Sunday to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah. if you don't have anything going on in the weekend. Which I normally don't. That's my life.
What do you do?
But I'm with the fam. We're going pumpkin patching.
Yeah,
we're
me
gonna
too. This weekend.
Yeah, see,
this weekend.
You got to go pick out your pumpkin, and you got to take it home, and then have a fire
We're going
pit.
pumpkin patching and doing the Iroquois Jack-o'-lantern show, which is drive-through this year.
That's nice.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the drive-through aspect, but
truthfully, I think I would like that better.
Drive-through, walk-through, what's the difference?
Exactly.
Walk-through, I can actually take the pictures and stuff. If I'm now, if I'm a passenger, which it doesn't look like I'm going to be, I can take pictures, but it looks like I'm going to be the one driving.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, here's the thing. Most people, just like the Christmas lights drive-through things.
Oh, it's cool.
Most people typically are a lot slower in those things, and they give you time to take the pictures and
I imagine I might still
seeing.
be able to take pictures because I don't imagine people are just zooming through there.
Yeah, no,
I hope not.
No, I mean, who knows?
You get rear-ended in the pumpkin patch.
It's like a.
Could you imagine having to call the police to come up in there because you have a fender bender?
Like he's got pumpkin seeds all over his windshield. It's like he took out the Danny DeVito display.
Speaking of pumpkin patches,
all the Corona masks.
I don't want to go too far off topic, but speaking of pumpkin patches, what's up with the Great Pumpkin?
Oh, I knew.
I'm not happy. And here's the thing:
you have a reason not to be happy.
It's a new age. I get it. Streaming's dominating.
53 years.
53 years. It has been on TV. Yep. It's a tradition. I own it on Blu-ray. I can watch it whenever, but I still watch it every year because it's tradition.
I know.
Families watch The Great Pumpkin on TV. Now it's not going to be on TV.
There is hope, though. Because even though Apple TV Plus now has the rights to the Peanuts, and they're going to have it exclusively on their platform,
they're going to show the Great Pumpkin only there.
You now have the availability to watch it on your PS4 or your Xbox One.
Apple actually...
So finally they're expanding the platforms, which we have complained about since day one.
They've gotten way ahead of HBO Max, because HBO Max is still missing from
Apple
Roku.
TV is on Roku.
See?
It's on,
but it wasn't
it's even on our Vizio TVs.
Yeah, but it wasn't on console devices, which are like the second biggest after Roku and Amazon. So I had a little bit of ire there.
Yep. Okay.
But they were on Roku and Amazon at least, which are like the two biggest platforms.
Yeah. Well, and it's
HBO
funny.
Max isn't even on that yet.
I got the email last week about my Apple TV Plus free trial for the last year
being extended
till February, and now that I actually have a platform to watch some of this, I probably will. I probably will finally tune in, finish the morning show. I'm only like 3 episodes
There's
into that.
actually a few things I do want to check out.
I still want to watch Greyhound, even though it got lukewarm reviews.
Yeah.
Sean, I know you weren't too fond of that one.
There's a few things I do want to check out that I never bothered because before it was on Vizio, I had to stream it from my phone. Vizio has it now, but I never actually went through that route to download it. But now that it's everywhere, I'm like, okay, I'll give it more of a chance.
Yes, but we at least have. It's not completely gone. It is bittersweet. I think it should still be able to be aired on TV.
Yeah.
For it to have been the last 53 years on broadcast television, it's like freaking Frosty the Snowman in Christmas time.
And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed. You can't take those classics away.
See, this is
What
how
are
I
they gonna
know
do with the Peanuts Christmas thing.
It'll be
Probably
on
the same
Apple.
thing.
Is it going to be on a freaking Apple?
It'll be on Apple TV Plus. They have the rights to all of them now.
They're taking over.
I wonder if they'll take the Bible reading out of it.
Oh, you can't.
No, if they do that,
It's survived this long. Here's my thing. I've always felt that the day they removed the Peanut specials from television was when we knew our culture had just hit this turning point we can't come back from, and it's come.
Maybe we're there.
I mean, you
Yep.
know,
20.
That's
we'll
it.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
who would? Yeah, another thing we have to
2020.
think 2024. All right. Well, they can at least thank us for our show for giving them the truth and giving them reviews week in and week out.
Yeah,
I'm
speaking of-
trying to make a segue.
I get it. Well, hey, we've it's not been way off topic. It's still been Halloween and entertainment themed, and you know, I'm trying to figure out which one we should start with. And here's the thing:
we got to start with our
do we want to start with the Halloween review?
the non-Halloween one.
Oh, the non-Halloween.
okay.
The non-Halloween.
Okay, let's just say because the best way to segue from Halloween would be into Halloween again, but I don't want to start with Hitchcock and be left with this debacle.
So let's go into it. Here is our review of The Trial of the Chicago 7.
It's safe to say that 2020 has been an insane and chaotic year. Natural disasters, pandemics, and politics, younger generations are getting a taste of things many of the older generation have already been through. Despite this, while history often repeats itself, especially for those who refuse to learn from it, not every event in history can be looked at the same, even when similarities between specific events appear. I mention this because our past is rife with turmoil, and this year has been too. And while it is ignorant to suggest the majority of people in our nation don't desire a positive change, no matter what their political views may be, all too often that is exactly what people believe when it comes to those on the opposite end of their own spectrum. This puts us all as a nation in a very precarious situation, though we have been here before. A few such instances in history include the Civil Rights Movement and the war in Vietnam. One particular instance, the protest of the 1968 Democratic Convention in Chicago, which led to the infamous trial of the Chicago 7, is the focus of Aaron Sorkin's newest film, now on Netflix. With a cast that includes the likes of Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Frank Langella, Mark Rylance, and Sacha Baron Cohen, the trial of the Chicago 7 sets out to tell the true story of the 8 people, dropped down to 7, who were charged with inciting violence and riots at the 1968 Democratic Convention. History has shown how these defendants were given an unfair trial from a biased and possibly mentally inept judge. A trial so ridiculous that its conviction was reversed by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. The film, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, of course is well made and written. One would expect nothing less from Sorkin. Likewise, the movie is well acted by all actors in it, and on a technical standpoint, it is hard to find fault with it. While the dialogue isn't quite as fast or snappy as Sorkin's other works, it is still just as smart. Ultimately, the movie is a solid effort for Sorkin in his second outing as director, even if it doesn't stack up quite as well as some of the better films he has written and not directed. Perhaps other directors are just more capable of creating Sorkin's vision on screen than Sorkin himself, though he doesn't do a terrible job of it here. Where the story is gravely lacking, however, is in its one-sided narrative. Sorkin, who has never shied away from political themes, has until recently mostly maintained an even hand in depicting opposing views. While you always know which side of the aisle Sorkin stands on, he never unfairly depicts the opposing side. This is not the case in the trial of the Chicago 7. While history shows the bias against those on trial and the movie accurately displays those facts as well, it also never brings into question any aspect of the defendants' involvement in the riots, maintaining that even when they were clearly breaking laws of some kind, They deserve to be absolved of these acts for the simple fact that their views were right and any opposing views were evil. While Judge Hoffman, a despicable person who deserved to be showcased as such, is done well, every other character who opposes the Seven is also called into question. History is dependent on following only the facts. When we try to interject our own ideas onto the actions of those in the past and assume the motivations and mindsets of the players involved when knowing their motivations or ideas is impossible, we play a dangerous game of falsely painting a narrative. While some of this must be done to a degree when making a film, as blanks have to be filled in to tell a story, one does not have to blatantly load one's beliefs into every unknowable scene to force a narrative. The bias against the Seven is a historical fact. The attempt to paint the past with the brush of the present to create obvious correlations where none may exist is the opposite of fact, and this is where the film fails. The Trial of the Chicago 7 ultimately is a decent movie that gets a lot right about the trial itself, but a lot wrong about its ramifications and the players involved. It does this to showcase how nothing has changed in our world, and in some ways that may be true. In others, it most assuredly is not. I give The Trial of the Chicago 7 3 out of 4 stars.
Well, you said debacle, but 3 out of 4 stars
still a
doesn't
debacle.
seem like a debacle.
I can give a movie 3 stars for being an extremely well-made movie that is entertaining in some ways.
True.
And still call it a debacle and knock off a whole star because it is very blatantly slanted in one direction.
Oh,
Bias.
yes. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And the fact that, here's the thing, it's a historical film. You have to take certain liberties when making a movie to keep it entertaining. But when the liberties are taking, not so much for the sake of creating a good story, but for the sake of making your narrative sound truer than it is.
Thank you.
Yes. But yeah, that's something I take umbrage with. It's like you're not taking liberties because you had to make a good movie. You took them because that was the only way you could make your point seem like a legitimate point.
Right. With the Social Network, Sorkin did take a lot of liberties when
Yep.
you look at the
Yeah.
real story, but the real story's not that interesting. But yeah, so taking those liberties and making a solid drama and making it exciting and memorable and not boring, that's a good way of taking liberties. But yeah, I agree. After you, this is coming from somebody who really didn't know
Much of the story.
true story.
Yeah.
But after I watch a movie like this, I always go into research mode and
Same
spend
here.
about an hour or so looking at some of the facts
Yeah.
about the story. And when you realize how many liberties were taken.
Yes.
And
And
it's-
which specific liberties?
Yes.
You know, that
That's-
was the other
that's exactly
thing.
right. Yeah.
That was my problem. Like I said, like the true story was already crazy enough. The judge in real life was crazy. He
Yeah.
gave them an unfair trial.
Yeah.
History has proven that he was a nut job.
Yeah.
And they deserve to have that decision reversed, which happened. But outside of that, there were other liberties. Like, they got the judge right, and I'll commend him for that, because the judge was crazy enough that they didn't have to change anything.
Yeah.
But then he took liberties with every other character to try to paint the story in a light that made some of these people look better than they really were, and some other people look worse than they really were, in order to move a specific narrative.
Yes.
And I'm like, look, the story already, like, just with the judge and what they dealt with, would have been interesting on its own. You
True.
didn't have to take
the
these
trial. The
liberties.
trial would have
Yeah.
been interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I even did enjoy the cutting back to the instances of the reality that was taking place to show from their perspective. I mean, and I'm even fine with them having a true. To me, I love courtroom dramas that truly show here's the prosecutor, here's the defense, and
Yeah.
they literally lay all the pieces out on the table and kind of leave you with you decide.
You be
Here's
the
all.
jury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you be the jury, and I'm okay with that. And
Well, you
that's
didn't have any
that's
of that in this movie.
not at all. And that was particularly the I know you both decided on 3 stars.
Yeah.
Even with the slight, the
I thought
slant
it was
against
well
it.
written, well made, well acted.
Well, and that's and I think that's where I kind of knock Sorkin, and I know typically the rule of thumb is I shouldn't be judging, his work now on this movie with his previous works, but to me that's the way it is with any director.
oh yeah,
and
well,
or
this is
any
only the
writer.
second thing he's directed.
True,
but
and as far as direction goes, I do want to be clear that I didn't think it was poorly directed at
No.
all. I thought it actually was, for him to be the writer and director, I thought he did a good job moving the story along. Again, like I said, some of those flashback scenes from let's go from the courtroom back to the moment that everything happened, I thought that was well done. The part that I ultimately ended up giving it, I was teetering on 2 and 2.5. I settled on 2.5, ultimately because I agreed. I thought it was still a riveting movie. I thought it was worth a watch, and I still enjoyed watching it. But it wasn't until after I finished the film and then went back and looked at the liberties that were taken, and some very specific ones, particularly the one with the old Attorney General coming into the courtroom and testifying, which never happened, completely fabricated.
Yeah.
They even reached out to the old AG, and the old AG said, "No, this is no longer my business." And it was like, okay, that was very pointedly, created specifically to tell the point of the story you wanted to.
Yeah, it was very much to drive a certain narrative that was similar to events that have happened within the last.
Well, exactly. And that I think was, Keith, you had brought up right after recording the review an instance where you had seen or heard that Sorkin had denied
He
that
said
the turn of events right now had shaped this film.
He said that he did not change the script to meet anything that has happened in modern times. Modern times changed to meet the examples of what happened in the script. And I was like, no.
Crap.
No.
This movie couldn't have been better timed, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
And that's kind of the point.
And knowing the
and I think
timing
that was the point
of how films are made, I don't think like certain events this year are directly, but events like what has happened this year have been happening for the past several years.
Well, I was going to say, it might yeah, exactly.
Well, even before
it happened before that.
There were even during Obama's terms, there were riots. Even though
But
everybody.
It's funny because
about
should there have not been this pandemic and other crazy crap that's gone on this year, I do think my conspiratorial hat would have gone on a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And been like, wait a sec, this is a little bit pointed in time.
It just seems a little too on the nose.
But
even with you mentioning conspiracy, I really felt like the movie was trying to drive a conspiracy that didn't really exist.
Yes.
I agree.
I felt like there were some certain factors that were pitted up against them, and some of them for good reason. But I really felt like this movie was trying to hint at this ultimate, just this right-wing conspiracy to silence protesters.
Yes.
And I really just didn't see that from the facts that
well,
you
and,
read.
and I was going to say, and that's exactly what you have to go back to. If you read the facts of what actually happened, it's easy to see the bias within the writing. And again, this is a film. This is not supposed to be a true, one on account of biography.
Yeah, I expect liberties to be taken.
Exactly.
I don't expect them to be that pointed.
Well, and that's the thing. If they are that pointed,
or at least admit
then the
to it.
criticism has to come. And to me, that was why I downgraded the star rating so much, is because I'm like, when so much of your movie and writing depends on completely reconstructing this narrative to fit a point you want to prove, but you're using source material from the real world. And again, maybe the same criticism could be taken into account with the Social Network, but I tremendously thought that was a brilliant film.
Yeah.
And even if you were to replace the names, Mark Zuckerberg and everybody who had been involved in that tale, I really do think you could watch that film and it would just be a riveting film about a business entrepreneur that will go to any length to succeed.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just a good film in general. This one I felt like was a little bit too hoorah, we want to you cheer for the protesters, but again, without giving you all the nuts and bolts to make you feel like, okay, he gave me enough to explain everything and to make me feel like, no, I truly feel like they were treated unfairly, and I was on their side by the end of the film. And I think nothing says that more than the ending of the film. I thought the ending of the film was
also
laughable, and
fake.
it was just cheesy and fake. It was
the
fake.
first half of the film I thought was way better than the second half.
I agree.
To be honest, the film had me even just at the beginning with the introductions of these people.
Yep.
The way it went about introducing them and showing a little bit of each one of them's side of this, what they were bringing to the protest and their supposed reasoning for coming to the protest or to start it, I felt like, okay, this is good. And they have a right. They have a right to voice their opinion. They have a right to protest.
Yeah.
They have a right to call out things that they think their government is doing wrong. I'm one of the people who would sit here and say, I don't think the Vietnam War was our best venture as a country, but there's a lot of people that died because of it, and for what? But I don't really feel like it was this. I don't really feel like it was the conspiracy that this movie tried to present.
Right.
I don't feel like it was there was a secret underlying agenda that was going. I think it was just a mistake. Our country has made plenty of mistakes.
I think the
Everybody
ending,
does.
the appeal, kind of serves up to be that message. It's it serves as a footnote at the end of this film.
Yeah.
But
very
really,
quickly.
the appeal is kind of the point at which you say, oh, so their sentences were actually terminated and they really didn't serve a whole lot of prison time.
Right.
Because the one thing that this movie would probably have you walking out thinking is, oh, no, they shouldn't have served any because they were completely innocent. And that was the main issue. That's not the total truth.
A riot. Yeah.
Exactly.
There were things they were guilty of, and I think history shows that.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at what the actual verdict became after the reversal, I would agree. Like, what they were originally sentenced with was ridiculous. The judge was ridiculous, but that's why the Seventh Circuit reversed it, because they looked at the facts and said, yeah, that judge was a nut job.
Yeah.
We can't. So, and that's history shows the facts. Like I said in my review, you could try to fill in the gaps, what you think might happen, but that's not history.
Yeah.
Right.
And I felt like Sorkin filled those gaps in with what he wanted it to be to paint his narrative rather than what it actually was. He had no way of knowing what the mindset
It's a fine line to walk when you're writing your own version of history like that, because the thing is, not everybody is like us where we want to know the fact. I want to know what led to this story. I want to know what led to the creation of even this film. It's like when you go back and look at the facts and you realize that these people weren't heroes like the film makes them out to be.
Right.
And they didn't even give the speeches that they give in the movie. They didn't read the names of all these Vietnam fallen at the end of in the courtroom. That never happened. And it's like when you see this, I feel like for those who don't research, they see this film and they're thinking, "Oh man, Eddie Redmayne's character is a hero. I can't believe he really did that." And they would even go and tell someone else, "Yeah, man, this guy stood up in the courtroom and did this."
Read
and
out 1,000 names. Yeah.
Read 1,000 names right there. Well, it's 4,752. But it's just like, no, he didn't.
No.
And it's just like half that movie is fake.
It does a
And it's
disservice
just
to
like,
history.
yeah,
This is
exactly.
what
That's
I
what
told
I have
Brandon.
a problem with.
I thought it would have been more interesting because the way the case actually ended is that each defendant got to kind of give their own little like closing argument.
Right.
And I like some of those are still on record. You can read them. I was reading some of like the things some of them had said, and I was like, some of the things they said as their closing arguments was way more interesting than him standing
what?
up. And I was like, that would have been, I felt like, more compelling.
Yes.
The true story, showing each of them give their closing statement to defend themselves, than him trying to stand up and read this list to prove a point that was never made in history.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll be the first one to admit that I am okay with, artists taking liberties with history or with stories or, because to me it's our job as critics or even as audience members to be critical of what we're watching and to make sure that, we go back and we do check the facts. And it's interesting because it's like, for me, I became more critical of the film the more this story decided to take a decisive, like Social Network, I think I was able to enjoy simply because, I didn't care one way or another about Mark Zuckerberg when I went into the theater and when I walked out.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not going to sit here and say that it painted a great picture of him in my mind, but it also made I was indifferent. I really didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't care.
But the thing is ultimately, it's our job, I think, still to view art the way it is and the way the artist sees it, but then to still be critical of it. And I think that is our role, and I think that's what we're doing here when we say, it's not a bad film, it's worth watching, it is compelling, and in its own right, it could be a story of its own, and we do this so often where we see these stories that are based on true events that are so unlike what originally happened and so far removed from it that you almost think, well, why don't you just tell a different story and change the names and try to say that, and make a
work
different,
of fiction.
A work of fiction.
Yeah.
And I think so much of it lies on the fact that when you hear the trial of the Chicago 7, then immediately in your mind you're thinking, oh, this is about that time in history that I remember, and now I'm going to get to see it on the screen, and it's going to be riveting and tell me in a beautiful, emotional way. And I think for the example this film lays, sometimes when you let the emotions get carried away and that becomes too much of what you're trying to put into your film, you don't do a good job of serving history or serving your viewer because you think they're stupid and you think that you can completely twist, their thoughts on how history should really, be told.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately how I feel about it, which is why it's like I've seen far better works from Sorkin.
Mm-hmm.
I give him so much more credit in so many. I mean, if you watch The Newsroom, it is a leftist show. It has a lot of liberal, even though he pretends to be in the center, but it's still a well-written show, and it's still it catches me.
He's a great writer.
He's a fantastic
and
writer.
Typically, I mean, we all know where Sorkin stands on which side of the aisle, but he's usually more even-handed than he was with this movie.
Agreed.
He was not even-handed at all.
Or at least he tries to blanket it that way,
Yeah,
But at least I'm always more interested in the snappy, riveting. You don't get that really fast talking back and forth. To me, that's what I love about it, is because he's the one person who, within conversation, can create such a lingo and a dialogue back and forth between a character where it's just like you're hanging on to every single word they're saying.
I did feel like there were moments in this film, though, especially the moments where they're all gathered in the house together.
Yes,
that their conversations were that you're describing. I felt like they were. Honestly, it was one of Baron Cohen's best performances I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm not a huge fan of Eddie Redmayne. I'm just not. But I thought he did a decent job. I thought his character was interesting. Even the guy that played Dellinger.
Oh, I love
the
him.
conscientious objector.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was very good, and he's been in other films as
Yeah,
well.
I think of The Founder.
But The Founder, and that was a movie I was going to
He
mention.
was
That I felt like
actually-
that was a movie that also took some liberties
Yeah.
on the story of how McDonald's came, and what was his name? The guy
Ray
that-
Kroc.
Ray
yeah,
Kroc,
yeah.
He was a crocker.
He was in
yeah.
the last season of American Horror Story, and he was like the best part of that season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
But I read that actually his character in the film was the most true to life character out of all of them. Was Dellinger. But
It's definitely a film worth checking out. It's definitely one to watch, but we've been critical of it, and obviously we've shared our opinion.
You know what is worth watching? 100%.
yes,
I
do.
Anything from
maybe,
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes.
maybe
Especially this movie here.
The Birds. Oh, shoot. No, there it is. All right, I got the right one.
It's the penultimate show before Halloween, and we have saved two of Hitchcock's most frightening for last. While next week's Halloween review will cover one of Hitchcock's most iconic horror films of all time, this week's will showcase one that, while not as revered, is still held in high esteem and just as instantly recognized as a Hitchcock classic. That is 1963's The Birds. Starring Tippi Hedren and Rod Taylor, The Birds tell the story of Melanie Daniels, played by Hedren, and Mitch Brenner, portrayed by Taylor, who meet by chance at a pet store in San Francisco. Mitch is there to buy his young sister a pair of lovebirds, and the two almost immediately do not hit it off. Melanie, regretting how their encounter went, buys the lovebirds for Mitch, who left without doing so himself, and takes them to his home in Bodega Bay. During the course of a series of near misses, the two meet again at the town docks, where Melanie is attacked by a seagull. As the film progresses, more people fall victim to violent flocks of birds, as reports come in of birds aggressively swarming and attacking people in surrounding communities as well. The Birds is truly one of Hitchcock's great works of actual horror. Full of suspense, one typically would find the idea a bit silly, but paired with Hitchcock's talent for building tension and his ability to craft a scene that unnerves the viewer, The Birds often leaves you on the edge of your seat. While not every effect holds up to modern times, most do. And the use of real birds mixed with animatronics works wonders, as swarms of birds perched and ready to attack always leave you terrified of when they will strike. The idea of something so small and easily overpowered, leaving you defenseless as the sheer number of birds attacking prevents any real defense, is a scary idea. And the open-ended nature of the film leaves one with fear for the character's future, as opposed to hope, an ending fitting of a film who offers no answer to why the birds have suddenly began attacking people. The Birds isn't perfect, however. Yes, some effects just don't hold up, and moments of weak supporting cast prevent it from being perfect. But ultimately, The Birds is fun and scary, and clearly deserving of the praise it has received through the years. The idea may seem silly, but Hitchcock nonetheless proves to make the horror effective. I give The Birds 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Oh, a much, much better film.
Love it.
I mean, obviously, it's really kind of uncomparable to the first.
I mean,
just because of, for one, the history behind it, and two, it's just like you can't.
It's Hitchcock.
Yeah,
like I said
you
last
can't.
week, and I'm not saying this just, I mean, obviously his reputation precedes him, but still, there's a reason he has that reputation, and I have yet to see a Hitchcock movie I haven't liked.
Yeah.
They've all been, even like the ones that aren't as good as others are still good.
Yeah.
And just this movie, like, even though it may seem like a silly concept, people being attacked by birds, and you think, oh, that's stupid, but like, what are birds going to do? But it's like, it is scary.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, when there's that many and
I mean,
you can't really defend
birds
yourself.
take down airplanes more than
Yeah.
lightning, more than
Yeah.
more than mechanical failures.
Yep.
Hey, birds don't care. I love birds. I think birds are hilarious. They're
birds
some of my
don't
favorite.
care.
They don't. But like, I tell you,
Don't care.
birds are one of my favorite
They don't
of
give
God's
a-
creation because they do what they want and they don't care about anybody else.
They just get-
Geese are nature's perfect a-holes.
Oh yeah.
And I love that about them. I absolutely love geese because I love the fact that they'll walk in the middle of the road and traffic has to stop because they don't care.
yeah.
No, yeah,
If you get
that's
near
true.
one, they will kill you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ducks. Ducks
they
are the same way.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just do their own thing.
And I mean, and
Pay no
birds,
mind
when
to
you
you.
have like the beaks and talons and you can't defend yourself, and like just the scenes, the tension of all these
Well,
birds.
I was gonna say,
perched and
to me,
staring.
the perfect thing that this film does is it builds on the tension and the subtlety. It's like the literally the only time within the first, I guess, 20-25 minutes that you even have an interaction with a bird is that first goal that comes down and hits her in the head.
Yeah.
And it's just a literal. It's
Well, they
such
have the love birds. But,
well, of
yeah.
course,
yeah,
but
the ones
nothing
actually attacking.
Exactly. The first instance of a bird attack
Yeah.
is just that one instance of like, oh, it's a freak incident.
Yeah.
You're not expecting
Like
what's
everybody's
coming.
Oh, she was hit by a gull.
Yeah,
Like, it was
like what?
weird.
That's random.
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you. For this being 1963, even that scene, like it was kind of funny, and I laughed. But when he rushes and tries to, like, after the instance that it's gone, I wasn't sitting here thinking that was stupid. This was
Yeah.
hokey.
Yeah.
Like, no, it actually was like, well,
It felt like yeah.
it felt
Well,
real.
That's
It
kind of
felt
how
like
you
it
would
really
react.
happened.
If we
Yeah.
were walking down and a gull hit me in the head, we would laugh and be like, "That was weird."
And then if you
later
started
on,
bleeding,
yeah.
then we'd immediately
It's
be
like,
like, oh,
dang,
dude,
yeah.
that bird hit you,
And
man.
then if an hour later swarms of birds start attacking, we'd be terrified.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love even like I said, like in the review, the open-ended nature of the film. Hitchcock changed the script several times. In fact, the original screenplay writer was not happy with Hitchcock at all. The movie went past where it ends, and Hitchcock scrapped all of that. He wanted it to have this "you don't know what's going to happen" ending, and he fought for like the movie ends with the end, and he did not want that card. He did not want the end card at the end of the film. He just wanted it to end, and you'd be like, what's going to
what
happen
happened?
next?
Yeah.
And the studio made him put at least the end on there because I guess they thought people were too dumb to know the movie was over.
Well, of course, because anymore, it's like obviously we look at them now and we've seen the studio picks from before, in the older days.
You know,
of film.
you pick and choose your battles, and I guess getting to at least end it like open-ended and have it the end card was better than having to actually make a more solid ending that explains everything.
Yeah.
So
I agree, and
I just think the
honestly-
ending is scarier that way anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all noticed, but the little girl in the movie, she like grew up to be in several horror movies, and one of them was actually she was in Alien.
Oh, wow. I
she
did not
was
know
the she was the other female on the ship with Sigourney Weaver, but that's the little girl from this movie, and then she was also in I think she was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original one with Kiefer Sullivan.
I mean,
Donald Sutherland.
She was actually like a
love Donald
really,
Sutherland.
really
Yeah.
good actress. Like I was actually for
She did
kids
pretty
back
good.
then.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I mean, we've seen plenty of decades where
Yeah.
the kids were awful, And everybody kind of claims like Haley Joel Osment is like the moment where studios were like, we got to take him
We got a
seriously.
child actor that's
but
good,
she was
yeah.
actually not bad in
No.
this film.
Yeah.
She wasn't annoying. She wasn't a little nitwit.
The only thing
She was better than some of the other supporting actors. So
yeah, no, that's true.
I was
Well,
gonna say the only thing about this movie that and I've seen it dozens of times, but I remember the only thing about it that I really criticize is the sound of the birds. Like I really felt like when you're watching it, it's piercing and very overpowering. Now I know that it's meant to be that way because
Yeah.
if you had thousands
Yes.
of birds flying around, it's definitely. But the sounds that they make and everything, it just almost like goes
It's
through me.
not-
It's
I agree.
unsettling.
It's
And not a
unsettling, but not in
criticism
a
of the
good
film.
way.
Yeah,
it's kind of unsettling, and it's off kilter. It's not. You kind of get
What
fooled
was-
for a second.
It was made with a I don't remember the name of the instrument. It was the precursor to the synthesizer, and Hitchcock like wanted to use that to create those sounds because it was an unnatural, unsettling sound.
See, the only and I agree. And the only thing I didn't like about it was it was too. It would be like a drum kit being used excessively today. I mean, hell, we have them in rap songs all the time. But it's like when you hear the same beat over and over, but that's
Yeah.
all you hear.
Yeah.
It's like okay, and that was my only criticism. Is I wish the sound of the birds would have at
Varied.
least
been
been
unique
varied.
from scene to scene. Yeah, a
Yes.
lot of it's the same.
yeah, because seagulls, crows, sparrows, they don't all sound alike.
Hey, they have
Yeah.
that. They have the lady in there she's a scholar on birds.
yeah,
She made that point. But I ultimately, it's like, yeah, other than that being kind of a little nitpicky, and I honestly, even though the special effects don't exactly hold up well, it's the tension that is set in from, I think you mentioned it in your review, Keith, from just seeing birds
oh yeah,
perched up on a telephone wire, and it's like as they're walking up to a house and they're just not sure what when they're gonna just start flying around and going
Yeah.
crazy. It's that kind of tension that just absolutely makes this movie
translates beyond the movie because I really feel like even as a kid when I saw this movie for the first time, after seeing the movie, then you're riding in the car and you look out the window and see like the huge flocks of birds or
Yeah.
the
Yes.
hundreds of birds in a tree. Like the blackbirds are like in a tree and it looks like the leaves on the freaking tree and then they all just fly away and the tree is just left bare. And you see that like you hearken back to this film. Like it really
Yes.
does kind of give you
That
an
eerie
unsettling
sense-
feel even when you see birds in real
And I
life.
think, and that's just classic Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I mean, just like with the shower scene in Psycho, and that we're reviewing next week. It's like these iconic scenes that make you scared in your normal everyday life.
Yes.
It's like walking out of your house and seeing a bird, and just if you see like a swarm of them in the sky,
Yeah.
and you immediately think of this
Yeah.
movie, or you're in the shower and you're sitting there singing or joking around, and then all of a sudden you're like,
there could be someone
there could be
standing
somebody.
right
I mean,
outside.
it
Yeah.
scares the hell out of you.
And
Yeah.
I also love the talent that Hitchcock was always able to get to be in his films. Like he always has some of the most iconic actors of that era.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that because I mean this movie has of course Tippi Hedren, but Jessica Tandy. I love Jessica Tandy.
Yes.
And it's just like even though it's not the
She
lead
was
role,
perfect.
Yes,
Yeah.
like she is just like Jimmy Stewart. Like as far as female actors, she's one of my favorite classic female actors. She's good.
Well, and
at
I was
everything she's
fearful
in.
that was going to turn into like a Norman Bates mother
Yeah,
role.
yeah.
And it didn't. It
Yeah.
didn't. And I was
Yeah.
glad to see that. It was just kind of I love the character building in this too. It was more than just these tragic people get caught in a scenario on an island of, or a bay of seagulls and
Yeah.
crows that attack them. It's like, no, they had a character story. They had a whole developing love interest. They had this whole entire backstory as to why the side character, while she's there, and that kind of becomes a little bit of a love triangle. I loved it. I thought it was just fantastic from start to finish. Absolutely worthy of Hitchcock's name and just absolutely a Hitchcock favorite. And you need to check it out if you haven't seen it.
Indeed.
All right, I think we're ready to finally move on to our headlines. Let's
do
get
it.
to it. That's right, it's our headlines this week. And we got 3 of them to get through. So we gotta go.
Here's the thing: after so much nothing in news. Now we have all kinds of stuff.
I was gonna say, then it just hits. It's like a freaking, I don't know, a barrage of just news. Which, if there's not enough news going on, obviously, in the real world, because obviously we've got an election coming up.
Yeah.
2020.
You know, I mean, we already made the joke 2 weeks ago, but we can make it again. Obviously, if you're tuning into the show right now, you're not watching the presidential debate. And that makes sense.
Isn't it funny how
You know,
even when we
we
moved,
really didn't plan
Yeah,
it.
I said,
moved
even when
it.
we moved the show,
Yeah.
It's like it still landed on a night where the debate
presidential
happened.
debate. What's more important? You know,
Yeah, come on.
the future of the nation or movies?
Movies. All right, so let's bring it out. Let's talk about it. It's in the headlines yet again. I fear this is becoming the new Movie Pass. AMC
I don't know.
is the new movie
Right now, I'm
pass,
equating them
okay?
with Netflix because they're constantly going
Yeah.
under, but they never do.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
see.
But it's ridiculous. Okay, and I think it's ridiculous because the fears are real now. We kind of talked about this last week.
I think their fears were real before. AMC
Yeah.
were just good at hiding. They
Well,
were hiding it better.
Well,
Yeah.
they were hiding it, but we also made the conspiracy or the conjecture about them possibly twisting the news to fit the favor of, hey, no, we're going to be fine. Oh, no, we're in trouble, just to drum up this excitement of getting back into the theater. Because at
Yeah.
the time, it was July. July's the opening. We're
Yeah.
going to reopen and come on back. We're going to have Tenet. And we all thought, okay, they're just doing this so that people will come back to the theater and feel safe and they'll be back in the black. Well, obviously,
Nobody went back to the theater.
nobody did.
No.
And so here we are again. AMC's truly facing bankruptcy.
They said they're gonna run out of money by the end of the year.
15 million shares
Yep.
to try to come up with some money to last a little longer. I mean, my question is how come there's not enough celebrities to cough up how much money
Hey,
these 15 million shares will bring in?
they want to save the theaters. They just don't want to pay for
They
it.
don't want to help.
yeah, they want
want
to
to talk about saving the theater.
Well, that's all they ever want to do is talk about all the things
Yeah.
that need to be fixed. Nobody ever comes up with a solution on how to
Right.
fix it.
So is AMC going bankrupt? Is this actually the end? Is
Yeah.
this what's going to happen?
I don't know if it's
Yeah,
the
I
end,
don't know.
end, but I do think they are going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Whether they're saved or not. I mean, I still have a feeling that even if
Meaning,
AMC
should
went
they
bankrupt,
even sell the shares or just admit it and close doors now?
I think what will end up happening is if they don't get any money, like we had talked about, is they'll end up selling to someone else. Like
Yeah.
maybe Cinemark or some other company will end up buying AMC and becoming like this massive chain.
I think it'll just go under completely.
Really?
But
You don't think
I-
anybody's going to buy the
No.
name AMC?
not right now.
I mean, maybe not right now, but I think it's going to be like Hostess, like we had talked about before, where AMC's going to go under, but
Yeah.
eventually
Everybody
it's
thought,
too big
oh
a
my
name.
God,
yeah.
they're not going to make Twinkies,
Twinkies.
anymore, and then Twinkies
Yeah.
were on the shelf the
I
next
think
day.
I'm telling you right
AMC
now,
is just
if there
too
were
big
no
a title.
Twinkies, but the thing is,
They don't taste the
There's
same.
a
They're not the
difference.
same. They're
They're
half
not
the
the same.
size and they taste like crap.
Yeah. It's
well,
like
that's
sponge.
You're telling me you're just like Papa
Cream-filled
John
sponge.
arguing about his pizza.
Well, here's the thing.
They've changed the ingredients. I can tell. I ate 30 pizzas.
Yeah, I know
in a
he
month.
ate 30, and he looked like he ate 30 pizzas in a
Yeah.
month. It's like, Papa John, you gotta.
Well, here's the thing. There's
Depression,
a lot of
man.
difference between Twinkies and Ding Dongs and AMC.
That's true.
If I had to pick,
I'd pick.
I'm
the
picking
Twinkies
Twinkies and Ding Dongs. So I'm sorry,
I
but
don't
even
know. I
as a
would've-
film lover,
If I could pick, I would pick the original Twinkies and Ding Dongs,
Yeah.
not what we get now.
Yeah.
but I truthfully, I do think like you all said, I think it's gonna be a Hostess situation. I think it's gonna go under. It's going to be dormant for this entirety of the.
Means we're gonna lose our stubs.
Well, and honestly,
Yeah.
I'm pissed. They charged
Well, we're
me.
being charged.
They're
for it,
not.
and
I
we're not
guarantee
getting any
you,
movies.
they are not going to stop those now because
No.
at this point they're bleeding so much money. They're going to take whatever income.
That's
they
why.
can get.
Why do you think I called them the next movie pass?
As long as they're open and they are showing films, which
Yeah.
they are, they're just showing old films.
I will say they have. I checked the other day, and they have gotten a better selection of old films. A few that have piqued
Like
my
what?
interest.
Yeah.
I
Just
wanna
as
know.
far as I'd have to look again. I didn't memorize
I
them.
mean, were they like? Did any of them? Obviously, they weren't good enough to stick out to remember.
they were old. Well, I don't remember anything unless I don't just memorize. things
It's
like
getting
that.
so bad that they are offering. You can pay $99 to
Yeah.
rent out the theater for your
Yes.
own private screening.
Yep,
So that's how they're in dire straits.
they are.
Well,
Oh,
right
he
off the
found
bat,
it.
I was not greeted with a good one because Alita Battle Angel was at the top.
Gosh.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
You don't want to watch that.
I want my Stubbs
Monsters,
refund.
Inc. isn't bad. Okay, The Conjuring. Those were the two. Both Conjuring movies are going to show this month.
Well,
and I
for
would-
Halloween.
I would
that's
see
fine.
those at Halloween. Let's see. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I will definitely go see that in November because to see that in theaters would be awesome.
Damn.
Yes.
They've got one.
When Raphael says,
Damn. Yes. That movie.
They've got a
look,
movie that's keeping them.
That movie was on VHS before I was born, so I
Yes.
didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. I would love to go see that in theaters.
same.
So
All
I'll
right,
do
all
that.
right. So you all are
Apollo
keeping-
13, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Actually,
Nest.
Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. in
see.
theaters.
I was 3 years old.
Ghost. I'm not gonna go see Ghost in theaters, but I mean, there's people
That's
that
a
would.
good movie.
It is, but
Oh,
I'm not gonna go see
That's a
Ghost.
real
in
good
theaters.
movie.
That
Frickin-
pottery scene.
yeah.
Oh man.
Give me more, man.
That'll
Jesus.
get
They
you.
got Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
You gotta have something for the kids.
Oh yeah. V for Vendetta. No, Poltergeist. I'd go see Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
The
Original
point.
Poltergeist,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. The point is though, is none of this is keeping me
No.
keeping me
No.
with Stubbs.
I-
I'm
I-
sorry.
Out
I'm
of
not
all of
keeping
that,
this in
honestly, Ninja Turtles in November, I definitely want to do, but that's one movie in 4 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I think it's going to go under, and then after a while of being completely out of business, a new leader, somebody new is going to step in. Probably all the people Netflix is getting rid of. They're going to step in and they're going to start taking on the theater role. And who knows? Maybe they'll give Netflix a run for their money. But or maybe even Netflix will buy them up and they'll get a theater chain. You know, that would be insane. Wouldn't that be crazy for 2021?
If all the AMC theaters turned into Netflix theaters,
That would be insane.
Yikes.
that would be interesting.
That would be a headline right there. That would be
That'd be a major headline.
that'd be huge. Yeah. Alrighty, guys, let's move on to our next headline, which happens
one
to
is
be.
that?
Which one?
I think this one. I got to bring it up to remember. Yep. So this is Disney's.
Okay, I didn't
Racism
know if you were
warning.
going for that or what the other.
Well, we're gonna get it. The last one I think is a little bit more important, but briefly on this one, obviously Disney has turned its sentence-long warning for racist
Into,
films
a
into like
whole
a
document.
huge paragraph that they want you to read before every movie.
You need to know just how racist those crows in Dumbo are.
Yeah.
Before
No,
you watch them.
yeah,
Here's
yeah.
my thing. Well, I think I don't mind there being a warning that you read. It's much better than Gone with the Wind's
Yes.
half
That
hour
HBO
long.
thing was terrible.
That was a
That
half
was
hour long before you even started the
insane.
movie. It's
Yeah.
a 4-hour movie, and you got a half hour thing ahead of it.
Nobody's gonna watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I do think the warnings that you can read are a much better idea, and as long as they're not editing the films themselves,
That's all I care
because
about.
I do think it's still a little silly, but I will deal with it as long as they don't take the crows out of Dumbo. And I know some people are like, "Well, what's wrong with that? They're a racist caricature." It's still like butchering a film.
well, they
It's
say
a
it. They
product of its
say it
era.
perfectly in the warning. They say this was a bygone era. This is
Yeah.
a time that we have to learn from. This is not something we're supporting,
Yep.
but we don't want to change the art for the sake of learning from it. And as long as they continue to stick with that message, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
The moment they take the next step and we have Oprah at the beginning reading the paragraph, and I just see that they're getting closer and closer to just butchering these films and editing
Well, the
them.
thing is, they make you
that's
not
what-
want to watch the film.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing before Gone with the Wind, when
makes
I
you feel
watched
guilty.
it really does. It makes you feel dirty for wanting to watch this movie, and it makes to me it makes all the accolades that the movie earned feel like
worthless.
Yeah, feel like worthless.
I never want to feel dirty for watching Dumbo. I love Dumbo.
I mean, it's like
yeah, unless it's the remake.
No, that
The
one.
live action remake made
I
me
mean,
go home. To
I
take a
don't
bath.
ever want to see that ever again.
no,
Yeah.
that should make you feel dirty.
That's dirty.
If
That-
they
no, that
butchered
should
that
just make
movie,
you feel sick.
if they hacked that movie up and re-edited it, I'd be okay.
I mean, that's what we're coming to. We're coming to where your little kid runs out of the room and says, "Mom, Dad, I watched something really bad," and it's like,
What did you watch?
"What did you watch, son?"
Scrambled porn.
Dumbo,
Oh.
Well, I mean,
the cartoon.
Dumbo
Yeah.
does. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that the crows weren't bad, but I will say Dumbo gets drunk in that movie. So what's worse, that the main character of a children's film gets drunk, or
Well, hell, think of all
Yeah.
the cartoons. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why we have
That's
the warning
acceptable now.
with
It
tobacco.
is acceptable now.
You have cartoons smoking
That's
in those
it.
older
Pinocchio.
films.
I love
yeah.
the scene in Pinocchio. You mentioned it where he takes
Cigars.
the cigar ring smoke and dunks the
Dunks
cat.
the donut.
Yeah.
Dunks the cigar donut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I love Pinocchio. Classic Disney's great.
Yeah.
It's just Who
Who cares if they're racist?
And that
Let's just
again,
let the past be the past.
let the past be
Don't
the past.
Screw with it.
Well, learn from it. Yeah. you learn from it. You don't hide it, because when you hide it, future generations can't learn from it because they don't know about it, and then they end up doing the same stupid crap that happened in the past.
That's always
Yeah.
the point. If you don't learn, then you're doomed to repeat it. Alrighty, guys, and now finally on to our final headline this episode, which happens to be about
This one is personal for Sean.
It is.
It is, and that's why I threw it in there. But it's also, I think, something we need to talk about.
I actually was very impressed.
Because-
so let's quit beating around the bush.
Oh
and
man,
let's talk
but
about it.
you
Uh-oh.
linked to a freaking CNN article. I think you couldn't find a better article than CNN.
There are articles
that
full
honestly.
of tweets from all of the cast.
I
Come on
understand.
now.
Well, the reason why I wanted to get to the bottom of the story, and there were, it was hard to find stories. Honestly,
Yeah.
This is the sad thing about CNN. Is they still have to pretend to be unbiased. So it was hard to find stories that talked about this material without being biased
yeah, I
and
agree.
actually
Yeah.
slamming Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But obviously Chris Pratt received a lot of backlash this past week on Twitter because he didn't attend a Biden Avengers table read. And it was this event that was supposed to be a fundraiser for Biden.
Yeah.
He didn't attend it. And obviously
He's
the
not
internet.
attending anything right now.
Well, of course he's not.
No.
Well, he himself.
He's not a political person.
He's not, and
No.
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to dabble in that. He is obviously very religious after his first child nearly died, and he had religious convictions, and partly what I believe to have ended up leading to the divorce with Anna Faris, and they had some conflicting back and
Ideology,
forth
yeah.
and ideology battles there. He, They separated.
But he's
you know,
always shown
mutually.
himself to be a very stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He has, and
And
so for him to have received this kind of backlash, basically on Twitter there was a post that was
Well,
like,
everything
"Which Chris?"
happens on Twitter.
Well,
Yeah, they
everything
named him
except the
the-
truth.
They named
we
him
blocked.
the-
We blocked that.
They named him the worst Chris in America.
Well, and that was the
So-
thing. So it was, which Chris are we tired of? It was Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, and I'm drawing a blank on
Chris
the
Pine.
Chris Pine.
Yeah, Chris Pine's the one I'm tired of.
Same here. But
Well, what has he done lately?
That's why I'm tired of him, because
It's like,
he's just not as great as
I
the
need
other
more
three
Chris
Chris's.
Pine.
I mean, once Wonder Woman,
But, yeah,
1984
that's
comes
That's
out,
my thing. Is
that's-
I don't have anything against Chris Pine. I just don't feel as I like everything else the other Chris's have done, and Chris Pine.
There's better Chris's than Chris Pine.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris
what you're
Pratt's
saying.
one of them.
Yeah.
He's the
Chris
best Chris.
Pratt is
me.
the best Chris.
Yes.
Well, and that's where all the
I would go Pratt, Hemsworth, Evans, Pine.
okay. Wait, say that again.
Yeah.
Pratt, Hemsworth, Evans, Pine.
I would actually
I would put Evans on
Pine-
the bottom.
I put Pine above Evans.
No,
I
like
didn't. I
Evans.
wasn't a huge fan of Evans. I am, but I'm like I don't
love
know.
I'm a
Cap.
fan of his movies, but I'm not a fan of him as a person.
Oh, I'm not a fan of him as
No.
a person either, but I still put him above Pine.
Okay.
Yeah. He has better words.
Okay, I just
I do
wanted-
it-
Sean,
I'm
what about
rating-
you?
As long as Pratt's on top, then we're good.
I'm rating on works, not on person at all. I don't care about their personal people.
Well, see, that's
yeah.
what I like about Chris Pratt.
That's
he
what
does
I do,
great
too.
works,
But he also
he
is a funny person.
He is a laid back. He's to me, if there was a guy that you could meet in Hollywood, he would be the only one right now that I would care to sit down with and meet. That partially because I have a crush on him. Like, I mean, if I was gay, he would be the guy that I would be
he's
going
your
after.
gay, yeah.
Yes, but other than that, like, I just think he is a real guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's a man.
And,
I mean, come on, if you follow him like I do, like, I mean, the guy hunts, the guy has a farm, the
Yeah.
guy, he loves nature, he loves God, he loves his family, and he's, for the most part, he is a conservative person. I mean,
Yes,
everything he does
yes.
leans that way, but he doesn't push it and flaunt it and
But that's
use
what I
his,
love,
he
but
doesn't use his pedestal or
even
his
if he
soapbox.
did vote for Biden, even if he was a liberal and a
Yeah.
flaming Democrat,
Well,
and-
we don't really know his
I don't-
politics. We
but-
just know his
and
personality.
But I
yeah.
love the
Yeah.
fact that he doesn't put that out there
No.
because that's all we get from
Well,
Hollywood.
I think what's gotten him in so much hot water right now is he's actually making fun of his
Of Hollywood.
colleagues
Yeah.
of Hollywood that
Yes.
are putting the political
That are so
thing
full of
on-
themselves.
yes,
They can't
yes.
believe that he would make jokes like that. But what I appreciated, and here's the thing: Robert Downey Jr. did it first.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I didn't think
Well,
much.
you know, if he does it, everybody else is
Well, here's
going
the thing.
to.
I didn't think much either way about that because Robert Downey Jr.
He's
He
classy,
he
too.
is left, he has always been a stand-up guy too.
Yes.
So when they said he came out defending him, I was
first
like,
off,
what
think about
surprised
think
me
about
though,
his history, though.
Oh, yeah,
with
he
Robert
knows-
Downey Jr.'s history.
he knows more
what
than
it means to be
anybody.
at rock bottom
Right.
to come back.
Yes.
But here's what really surprised me. I was not expecting Mark Ruffalo
No.
to defend
That
anyone.
was
I
the
was
one
not
that
either.
I could
So when I saw him, I still don't care for Mark Ruffalo as a person because I think he opens his mouth too much. But he gained a little bit of my respect back with that because I was like, okay, at least he's
Agreed.
willing to defend somebody that may not see eye to eye with him. Because
Yep.
usually, if you don't see eye to eye with Mark Ruffalo, you're a piece of garbage.
Well,
Yeah.
and actually, I think that is the point of this whole entire thing. It's like if they know him personally, then they're going to defend him. But if you know, if anybody else you've never interacted with kind of has these views, well, then you're going to just crap all over
Well,
him.
and it's funny because James Gunn came out and defended him too, and it's like there was another person who knows what
Who's
it
a
means.
huge lefty.
Not just a
And who
huge
knows
lefty,
what's a yes,
but knows
and
what it
crap
means to
thrown
be
at him.
in the spotlight for something that really was not as big a deal as the media and Hollywood tried to make it be.
Right. And ultimately the fact is they made the point in their tweets, but it's also easy to see within everything that you've seen Chris Pratt do, whether it's on his personal Twitter or in his personal life. The very fact of the matter is he is a stand-up guy. He is somebody who doesn't dabble too much in taking himself too seriously because he's a celebrity. And there's a lot of mad respect for that from a lot of people on the outside and a lot of his fans and followers. And people see him as just a decent person all the
He's
way around.
He's kind of humble.
Yes.
I mean, he's
Yes.
one of the people in Hollywood that actually is humble, and I think part of that is just simply because when he started out in acting, he was, I mean, let's just be honest, he was fat. He wasn't the
He was a
wasn't the
goof-off.
heartthrob that he is now. He didn't have the looks and he didn't have the roles that he is getting now. And it wasn't until he started kind of getting his life on track and getting out of a toxic relationship. And I firmly believe just from following him and listening to some of the things he says that, I believe he is a born-again Christian. And I feel like that's kind of made him and molded him into the guy that he is now. But I feel like because he came from humble beginnings that he has that sense of humility and one of the very few in Hollywood.
Or at least
that
he hasn't
does.
lost it because there are some that
Yeah.
that come from humble beginnings,
But they
once
lose
they
it.
when
Yeah,
they get
once
into
they get
Hollywood,
that stardom, they forget all about where they came
and
from.
I do think that, too, again, I think there's a louder minority in Hollywood. I think there are more people who are more humble, or at least they don't take their famous, celebrity status too seriously.
fame.
But
Yeah.
again, because they don't, a lot of them don't really obtain the type of celebrity status like a Chris Pratt.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why it's
Okay,
so unique.
I'll give you an example, and Brandon's gonna be mad at me for bringing this person
James
up.
Cameron.
No, Jennifer Lawrence. She came from humble beginnings, but here's the thing. She came from humble beginnings, rose to fame really
And
fast.
she is a trash person.
She
Yeah.
went straight. I mean, she bought straight into the
trash.
Hollywood stuff, and where's she been? I mean, I know she took a year off for activism, but what activism did she accomplish?
Yeah, she
And
didn't do anything.
She's
Well, she would say, well, that was the point. And it's like, well, the point of view is to just shut up and act.
Yeah.
You're a trash human.
I have.
Your job is to now shut up and go retire. Just shut up and give up movies. I
Yes.
can't stand Jennifer
I
Lawrence.
have,
Yeah, I'm with you.
Before we transition
I like
to
to look
our
at her, that's about it.
That's
before we transition,
The best
into
thing
our
she ever
unique
did was the
weekly segment-
fappening.
No, getting a little scandalous here.
What is that? I don't even know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I've never heard of such a thing.
I don't
What
know.
is that?
I get that news from the
Okay.
same place we get our screeners.
This is
okay?
a correlate. Yeah, exact same place. Exact same place.
Sorry, Keith. Go ahead.
I have a question, and it actually kind of goes into now into what the topic you just mentioned. Somebody sent us a group text, and I have
Oh.
to know. He says his favorite quote from the podcast is now scrambled porn. When did we say that?
I just said it.
Yeah,
I missed that
yeah,
entirely.
Sean said it.
Yeah.
When
Because he
we
was
were
talking
talking-
about what the kids come out of the room and say they watched something bad, and I was like, was it scrambled
Porn.
I was actually.
Everybody, every kid.
I was
Every
actually
male,
listening.
every little
male,
kid.
every human
Yeah.
man child
Yes.
is going to watch
Find scrambled porn.
They're
Yes.
always looking for that one
I
solo
missed that
nipple
entirely.
that pops
I was
through.
actually like just tuned into what you were saying in that moment, and then I was actually truthfully thinking about the drunken Dumbo scene,
Yeah.
and how much
Oh.
I love that movie, and I miss scrambled porn.
But yeah,
No,
every
the point
male.
was
He was
that
talking
you would
about
expect
porn.
them to come out and say I saw scrambled
Yeah.
porn, but really they saw the crows from Dumbo.
he was speaking.
And it
he was
much
speaking about
worse.
porn, and I was just enjoying
the childhood bliss of Dumbo.
Well, cartoons are
two
porn
different,
for
you
you.
know.
Maybe.
They
I
may
just-
be all
that pink elephant scene scares the
Oh,
hell out
yes.
of me.
It's
It's so
terrifying.
great. It
Yeah.
is. It's terrifying, but I love it.
I was gonna say the thing is as a kid you probably shouldn't be watching some of that.
Probably
It's
not, but
scary.
I grew up just fine. We're talking about scrambled porn. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Every kid is always looking for that one
Yes.
shot of a nipple that
It
just
was.
pops
It was-
through
it
in
was a
squiggle.
nipple.
I bet
or
when Neil
a
made
butt.
that
Yes.
comment, he
Yep.
didn't know that we were going to make scrambled porn a whole topic. So
Well,
Probably
you
not.
know what? And maybe that's a cue
it's
for
reality.
us to get into
it
our
is.
vices segment this week.
Oh,
no,
that
it's
is
not
a vice.
scrambled porn. That's a different vice.
Okay.
But we do have a different topic for this week.
sometimes those scrambled channels would have nights where they just came in just right.
Just right. Cinemax.
Yeah.
That's
After
right.
11 o'clock.
Yep.
Let's
That's
get
what
to
it
our
would come on.
vices segment.
Oh, man.
But see, the thing was too is that I think everybody had, which I don't know. Did y'all have
Everybody
like?
has scrambled porn?
Well, did you all have like the? I don't know what kind of boxes.
We had satellite.
Oh, you had-
we had
oh.
a satellite
Ooh.
dish.
Oh,
that
they
moved
had
in
that
the backyard.
huge.
Oh
I
my
remember
So we
gosh.
would try to.
I think it was bigger than this
anybody-
TV.
you could tune
Yeah,
that in.
my friends would stay the night, and we'd stay up real late. And it was like once mom and dad went to bed, we'd be in the basement moving the dish around. And my dad they slept with the window open. My
They
dad
heard
would
it.
hear bzzz all night long. He knew what we were doing, but we'd be trying to change the
Oh,
dish
that's
around
fantastic.
to get channels that we couldn't get. And yes, every now and then the dish would move from one satellite to the next.
Just
and you'd
right.
catch just a black and white outline of a nipple or a boob or something, and that was gold. That was like all night we would talk about
Whoa!
it.
Did you
There-
see
That
that?
one nipple
Did you
made
There
our
was
night.
a
Nipple? Oh,
cable
dude.
box in the back bedroom of my house that, like, my brothers, whenever they would
Was it a
frequently
digital
live with
cable
the-
box?
No.
They didn't have digital back
Yeah.
then.
Okay, that's
cable
that's what
box.
I'm saying.
It was an analog cable.
Yeah,
you had
they
to
had the
slide it up.
slider, yes,
And if you
yes.
could get that slider lined up just right, every now and then something would
Something
come
else
through.
would line up.
See,
just
well,
right.
This was not supposed to be our Vices segment.
no,
No.
it's not, and it's still not. But I just remember keeping my hand on the slider,
Still not, but we're still going to talk about
and
it.
as the squiggles would kind of, I would just wait, and if I heard somebody coming down the hallway, I'd slip it down real
Yeah.
quick to like
Yep.
Disney.
Yep.
And so Disney was always my
Disney
default
wasn't
channel
that far away from the.
from the actual.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So what's our vices topic?
Our vices
Scrambled
topic
porn.
is talking about the holidays.
Hmm.
Yes, Halloween is fast approaching. Thanksgiving right around the corner. Then right after that, Christmas and New Year's. Thank God we're almost to a new year.
I don't
so
know.
what we want to talk
I
about.
don't think it's going to be any better.
You think
Yeah.
it's? Well, I have seen that meme where it's like the clock is,
Oh, yeah. The,
you know,
maybe
12
we just need to
or
reset.
yeah, what is it? 11:59:59, and then it goes to 11:59:60.
Yeah, well, it was like because March was like something like when it all started in March, it was like the 13th and this and that.
the
and
full moon
I
and-
saw that,
yeah.
and then in November, it's like so maybe we just need to reboot the system.
That was funny. I
No,
saw
it
that
is.
one.
It's funny.
I saw that one. That was good.
We butchered it, but it was funny.
But the
Okay.
point is with the holidays, all these around the corner, they're all coming. We all want something to look forward to this year to get us out of the slump that we're in.
you know
so
what
the
I normally look
question
forward to?
is,
The Great
can I
Pumpkin.
just say the question?
I'm still bitter about the Great Pumpkin.
He is so
The
bitter
Great
about
Pumpkin.
it. I understand.
Go ahead.
But the thing is the Great Pumpkin gets you into the spirit, which you don't have now.
Not this year.
So the question is, do you go big for the holidays?
Keith does.
I think so.
Always.
You got all
Keith
the
decorates
decorations
and all that stuff.
Oh, I
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Especially Christmas. I mean, I do for Halloween too. I have decorations in my yard right now. Actually, I could probably pull up the photos. But yeah, I decorate for Halloween and
For Christmas?
More so the inside for Christmas. I don't have
Yeah.
a lot for the. I mean, I do
That's
have.
how I am.
I do
We
have
do
a
the
giant
inside,
inflatable
yeah.
Snoopy for Christmas, and
Yeah.
I do have some lights I put up in my house. But I don't
I'm
have.
not gonna lie.
But I have a tree. I put the village up. I put, yeah,
See,
the whole
I love
inside
that.
deck.
I'm more the same too.
Yeah.
I'm more inside on Christmas, but it disappoints me that I
People
will say,
don't do that anymore.
yeah, because I enjoyed like my parents did it. It was just like in Christmas Vacation. It's that one
we go.
Saturday. Oh, he's
Here's
got the
here's
pictures.
here's Halloween.
That's legit.
Yeah, it's nice.
The
Yes.
cobwebs
Yeah,
and
he's
the
got a
different
little
colors.
cemetery in his
Yeah,
front
yeah.
yard.
Oh,
Got
I
any
like
other
it.
ones?
No, that's the
The main one.
that's the only decorations I have at my house right
Yeah.
now for Halloween
Oh, okay.
on the front yard. So,
But it looks good.
Yeah.
It does.
I enjoy it. I love the holiday. I've always loved the holidays growing up, and it's always one thing that's made me sad is to see like every year less and less people that really do that. They don't decorate for the kids anymore. They don't really. It's kind of one of those things that we as a culture we've kind of lost this sense of family, and with that has gone the need to decorate for your children. And
I can't, in good conscience, use that much electricity when the world is literally ending because of global warming.
That's true.
That's true.
Like
That's
I just
true.
can't.
Why would
bring
you
myself
waste
to do that?
fossil fuels?
Right.
Listen,
The ones we
Even
are
LED
burning.
I will
lights.
burn the earth for Halloween.
Well, that's the
People are
one.
like,
That's
I'm
the
just
one
too lazy.
holiday that
I'm
might
just too
actually
lazy.
fit it.
Like
you
I
know?
like decorating inside. I love putting the like. Well, I don't like getting the tree out because it weighs a freaking ton.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I like the tree once it's decorated. It isn't Christmas
I was
time
say,
until the tree.
The
is
tree's
up.
always what takes me the longest, and it shouldn't. Like, there's other things that would
Well,
technically be harder.
You spend time putting those ornaments. in the right spot.
in the right spot.
Yeah.
And same with putting the lights on.
Yeah.
If you don't keep them on from the year before.
Well, mine's a pre-lit
I have a
tree.
pre-lit tree.
See,
too.
yeah.
we've
I ain't
gone
gotta worry
that
about
route.
the lights. Yep,
I honestly have the same tree
the way of the future.
from it decorated
the future.
Oh gosh, the way of the future.
You have to say it.
I
gotta
have
say
to. But no, I honestly have from the first year I moved into this house and decorated my first Christmas. That same tree literally gets a trash bag over it. What in the hell did you
I'm
just
in a
do?
mood tonight.
Seat just went down.
He is in a mood.
I pulled
I'm
the trigger.
itching.
And you've got we've got itches, we got gas, and Keith's got something
And scrambled
going on.
porn.
Now here's
It's just gas and
Scrambled
porn.
That's how you celebrate the holidays.
Trailer park holiday right there.
no, but
Brandon doesn't have one. He does for
I-
Christmas. He does put stuff up for
no,
Christmas.
I do. That's the one holiday I do. That was
Yeah.
that was gonna be my
But
next
you don't have
question.
one iota of anything on any other day.
No,
Exactly.
I don't. I don't decorate anything else. And that was gonna be my next question.
course,
Is
nobody
what do
comes
you
over
decorate?
here.
What do you? Thanks, Keith. Except for podcast night.
I'm just saying. I don't.
But what holiday do you go big for?
All of them.
You go big for every single.
I mean, I
one of them.
decorate for Halloween.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Keith definitely goes.
I don't.
Or
I
do
don't
you
have
combine Thanksgiving and Christmas?
I usually wait till like the week of Thanksgiving, and then I'll start putting up like my tree. I don't put up all the Christmas stuff, but I'll put my tree up the week of
We
Thanksgiving.
put
Yep.
ours up the day after
The
Thanksgiving.
day after, yeah. I'll do it like just so I
See,
can
we
enjoy
always
it.
had people over for Thanksgiving
Mhm.
when I was younger, so it was like they had all the decorations out for Christmas because that was kind of the
They
kickoff
wanted
to
to
the
see,
season.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was,
That's how I feel.
and it was great because I do remember like the Wizard of Oz was also an annual thing that they would play every year on broadcast TV, and it would come on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and we would decorate the tree while watching Wizard of Oz. And I
Yeah.
just remember that always being a thing growing up. That would always be on in the background while we would
actually
watch.
the last few years.
I love that.
While putting my tree up and decorating it, the week of Thanksgiving, we'll watch the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special. So
See?
I have that on DVD. I have all the
You gotta
peanuts.
watch it on Apple TV Plus this year.
I have all the peanut specials on DVD. So I can complain about it not being on TV, but I do have access to them. So
well, but
still makes me bitter.
So I would say Christmas is easily mine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really go big for anything else.
Christmas
but
is the
Christmas.
biggest. I definitely do the most for Christmas, but I mean, heck, I have it at my own home because decorations cost money and I haven't been able to spend a lot. But I mean, I even like would decorate like when I lived with my parents. I'd help decorate for like 4th of July. I'd put out like the flags and
See,
the little,
and my parents are doing more of that now that they're kind of in the the empty nesting stage. They now decorate for like the 4th of July and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you all do that, or do your parents do that?
No.
No,
You don't.
I mean
do
my
it?
parents
No.
didn't really. I always did when I was still living with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, my mom does have decorations for Halloween and Christmas, and she does again this year. But I mean, my parents, that's probably where I get it from, is because my mom always used to, I mean, you remember growing
Yes,
up,
yes.
all the Halloween decorations in the front yard, and
Yep.
my mom always went full out for Halloween and Christmas. So
And
I do
that's,
too.
I know that's where I get it for Christmas, but that's the weird thing is like that was the only holiday.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was the huge holiday that we Halloween. My parents did have decorations in the house.
Yeah.
there was they would put up fall colors and they'd have like certain little things that were out for Halloween, but there was never anything that was like
Well, see,
what you have
like
outside.
my grandmother was very much, she loved to decorate too. So I guess it was just a trend, like from my grandmother to my mother, and now to me, instead of like my sister. I guess I don't. My sister don't really decorate, so Don't know, but
You-
my
you got the
grandmother-
gene. They
my
handed it
well,
down
see,
to you.
But my grandmother loves horror, and my mom loves horror films because my dad doesn't care for them. He thinks they're silly.
Yeah.
And I guess like that love of horror is just kind of that's partially where I got it from. I mean, and growing up, because my grandparents watched me when my parents worked, so I saw a lot of movies that at a young age you probably shouldn't
see.
watch.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember Puppet Master and
Oh, wow.
Gremlins.
I
And,
remember Tales from
um,
the Crypt.
yeah, well, okay.
Yes,
My love
which
of Tales
was
from the
awesome.
Crypt comes directly from my grandparents.
Yeah.
Growing up watching it with my grandmother, and then of course the series is one thing. It was bad enough, but then the film they
movies.
made, Demon Knight,
Oh,
is
Bordello
not.
of
It,
Blood?
yeah, well, Bordello of Blood was the second one.
that was the second one. Okay.
And
Which
neither
Demon
one are
Knight- Demon
suitable
Knight's
for
not-
children.
no.
There's lots of graphic nudity and blood and gore, and
No
I
scramble
That was
remember
you
there.
got to
It's
believe
just
that
right
was
there.
the there was
Yeah.
no
You didn't have to
scramble.
scramble that.
That was
Nope.
straight up like that was like Finding the Girls Gone
Listen,
Wild
Listen,
tape. You
Yeah.
know.
Demon Knight. It has terrible reviews. I love that movie. It is a terrible movie, but Billy Zane. I mean, you can't. He's the main villain. You can't beat that.
Which
Which
I
is the
mean-
one that's got Steve or what's his name?
I have no idea.
Miller.
Uh,
The comedians.
I know who you're talking about.
He's in one of the
the one that you're
Tales
talking
from the
about,
Crypt
the
movies.
guy from Deadpool, the barkeeper.
No.
No,
No,
he
then
wasn't
I have-
old enough to be in. Tales
See,
from
that's
the
what I'm
Crypt.
saying, and I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh my god.
I have no
He was
idea.
a comedian like back in the 90s and stuff.
I
He
have
was
no idea. That would be the worst topic.
on
I-
HBO.
Looks like I just got really short, but I'm just leaning.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we'll
look
figure it out.
because I don't.
We'll
know where he was in
we'll
that.
find that after the podcast.
I know,
That'll be
I know
our trivia
Demon Knight
question.
had Billy Zane, William Sadler. Oh, I forgot Jada Pinkett Smith was in that. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know her.
yeah. She's
Thomas
not nude
Hayden
in it,
Church.
though.
I do remember Thomas Hayden Church being in that.
Oh, I do. Yes, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. Yep.
It must have been Bordello of Blood.
Look at Bordello of Blood then.
We're finding.
I actually, I don't know. Yeah, I actually like both of those movies, and they're both terrible movies, but that's why I like them.
I just remember watching
Dennis
those.
Miller?
Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot Corey Feldman was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember Phil Fund. That's the only thing I remember him ever being in was Tales from the Crypt, but he was in
Yeah.
that. Oh, Willow. Yeah, he was in Willow. I'm dumb.
All right.
This
well, I
dude.
think that's about
Yeah,
it.
we need to end the show.
I think we need to wrap up this
Oh,
show.
yeah.
Who
Yeah.
is it? Go
Out
ahead
of
and
the
show
way,
it up
Peck.
there.
Here.
No, show it up to the.
Show it there. Nobody's gonna know who
He's a
that
midget.
is.
He looks like the guy from Trimmers.
He is a
the,
midget.
the one dude.
He's a midget.
Oh, he's a midget.
He's a little person.
Now I'm thinking about Trimmers chasing after midgets.
Oh,
That
they
would
wouldn't
be-
have a chance,
I
man.
mean, talk about putting
they
that
couldn't
thing
even
up
get
against.
up. They couldn't get up on the rocks.
What if they were mounting like the Shriekers, and you
Oh.
had like midgets riding on Shriekers? That would be a good movie.
the midgets of Shrieker Island?
There actually is a documentary on YouTube right now about the making of the original Trimmers,
Oh yeah.
and it's actually really it's only
I
about
wanna
34
I
minutes.
wanna
What's
see
it on?
that.
It's on
on
YouTube,
YouTube?
and Param or Universal does like the full-on production of it.
Oh okay.
But they go back and they have like they've got Kevin Bacon in it.
yeah.
Nice.
The original cast or some of the other
Burt
cast
Ward?
and crew. Burt Ward is not in it.
Oh man.
Which is odd because
yeah.
he's the only one that kept
Or
coming
no,
back.
I'm
on
sorry.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, he is. He's he's in it. I'm sorry. He is in it. The other guy opposite of Kevin Bacon, is he dead? Because he
That's-
wasn't in it.
That's Burt Ward.
That's Burt Ward. Yeah, he was.
Oh,
in,
I'm thinking of Burt.
You're thinking
You're
of
like the
Burt
character.
the character.
Burt
Yeah,
the
yeah.
character.
No, Burt
Oh,
Ward
okay.
actually did come back for the sequel
second movie.
and the series.
Yes, no, he is not in it.
briefly.
He
Yeah.
totally like. I think he wants to be removed completely.
Oh
Unless-
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure he does. He wasn't. He didn't go as crazy as I don't know the actor's name that plays Burt the character, but he's in everything.
Oh, he
Trimmers.
is. Well, and that was the
Yeah.
funny thing is they
It's
bring up.
basically his movie.
They
now.
literally, he talks about that. He's like, I don't know how I went from the dad on Family Guy or
Yeah.
Family Ties
Yeah.
to this movie, and he's like, and now there's a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth, and he's like, I'll just play this character forever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm sure you will.
You remember how you kept saying that they weren't in the Arctic when we started that movie? The movie does take place in the Arctic, but I did find out online they filmed it in the desert and put a blue filter on it. So that's why, even though it's
It's not
supposed to
the
be the Arctic,
There
Yeah.
is the sixth one is like
yes,
the Arctic,
but they didn't film
They're
it.
not
in
really
snow.
in the snow.
They
It's
filmed
sand.
it. They filmed it in the desert
No.
and put a blue tint over it, so the sand looked like snow.
Yeah.
that's
So
really
when they're running
bad.
around in like short sleeves, it's because they're not really
They're
in the
really
Arctic.
in the deserts.
Yeah, they're actually in the desert, but it's supposed to be
It's
the
supposed to
Arctic.
be the tundra.
This is
Yeah, the
terrible.
Arctic tundra.
Well, we already knew by
Yeah.
the second
if we
How
keep
did- how
going,
did we
this
get on
show's going to
Tremors?
be an extra
We
hour
got
long.
I know,
We,
we
got
need
on
to-
Tremors. We got way.
We do.
Way
We
off.
need to wrap
end the
this
show
up.
because
So I need to thank
It's rather
everybody
long.
for watching. Thank you all for tuning in this week.
Right.
It's an extra long show for
We're
the hell of
skipping-
it.
Skipping the debate to watch this.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're gonna catch all the highlights afterward.
Yeah.
It's already
Listen.
done. Let's see what
I'm
happened.
gonna watch it on my way home.
Just like last time.
you know what
Yeah.
this show
All
and
you
the
gotta do is
debates
hear it.
have in common? Scrambled porn.
You
Wow.
know. Okay, that's gonna do it for this episode of the
I think
Red
that's
Moon
all they end up being.
Podcast. As always, you can email us, just like our good friends did this past week.
Mhm.
Jacob Burris and Megan Singleton. They emailed us. They sent us emails with articles attached to it, and we used them here on the show. We got to thank them, give
Yep.
them a shout out. But you can do it too at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. That's right, rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. And as always, you can also check out our podcast every single week. That's right, on Tuesday nights. Not Thursday. It's just a special night this week. That's why we went long. But Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. And always just check out redmoonproductions.com for all of our past content or previous reviews. So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And,
Keith Cheatham, we're reviewing Psycho and the Witches next week.
oh yeah, we did forget that. All right, that's next week. Bye!
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.